All right. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome, welcome, one and all. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are on the planet. Welcome to a very, very special edition of Visionaries and Truthtellers. I am Anthony Carter, the host, the creator of this program, the producer. And this week, folks, we're in for a very, very, very special treat. I have my heart, the love of my life on the line. We're going to do a quick interview. His name is James. I'll let him introduce himself, tell you a little bit more about him. And it'll be kind of interesting, kind of tricky, because I think we know each other pretty well. But he's highly creative, extremely brilliant. And getting married to him and buying a house is probably two of the best decisions I've ever made in 54 years of living. All right. So Mr. James Legere, give us your 30-second bio. Take it away.
30 seconds. You know me better than that.
That's why I gave you a time limit.
I could talk for an hour. I'm James Legere. I was raised in Connecticut and I've traveled around the country doing different things. And I've got a bunch of kids and grandkids, and I don't know. I've done a little bit of everything. You ask the questions, I'll fill in the blanks.
Okay. What an interesting bio. Usually people give me more than that, but we'll jump right in. So tell me what you're excited about these days. What are you working on? What are you excited or passionate about these days?
Gosh, it's so hard to say what I'm excited about in particular. I just do a little bit of everything. I try to be creative every single day. I don't care if it's from making a pie to painting a picture or recording some music or crafting something out of wood. If I can find it on the side of the road for free, I can remake it into something. It's just what I do every single day. I can't even imagine going through a day without doing something creative.
Okay, where do you think creativity comes from?
Well, you hear people say, oh, you're so talented or you're so creative. And I think that's nice. I've learned in my old age to say thank you, because it wasn't always easy to say. But I really believe that everybody is creative. I think they choose not to, or they don't allow themselves permission to be creative. I've always said, and I've spoken in front of crowds of people and said that if necessity really is the mother of invention, then I'm extremely grateful for having had necessity. And I was raised where, if you needed it, you better figure out how to do it. And so I think, that's where it comes from. And I think everybody has that potential if they stop saying, oh, I can't do that, or, oh, I'm not talented, or I'm not creative. You're pretty much dead in the water. If your life depended on it, you'd produce. That's so figuratively, if your life depends on it, and I think that's where it comes from. And I think everybody has that. And maybe some people, are more inclined to it than others, but trust me, if you were standing there with somebody aiming a bow and arrow at you, you would produce. And if you did it once right, then the next time would be easier. And the next time after that, it would be even easier. And so you just become more and more able to produce. So I think that's really that in a nutshell.
Okay, let me ask you, because I know I've heard you, you've done 6 albums since I've known you, or 7?
7.
7, okay, I was close. So I've heard you when you're rehearsing, I've heard you when you're recording. Let me ask you this, give me if you can, your top 3 songs and why you love them so much.
Ooh, that would be like asking you what your top 3 written things are. Ouch. I don't know if I could really say what my, I don't know. I'm drawn to music that makes the hair stand up on my arms and the back of my neck. I love lyrics. I'm especially fond of musical theater. I was addicted to the sound of the opera voice. I was addicted to the sound that would run around a room and come and hit me on the side of the head, and couldn't believe that it was coming out of me. Those days are long gone. I don't have those pipes like I did. But I don't know, it would be really hard to say what my favorite thing is. I guess if you had to say what's your favorite musical or opera or whatever, Les Miserables is my favorite, I think, of all time. It's a highlight right from the start all the way to the end. I think I know the score inside and out, everybody's part, even the little kids and the bishop and all of them. I know all their parts, the girls, everybody. And I've recorded some songs from that. Bring Him Home, one of the most incredible, powerful, empty chairs and empty tables, survivor's guilt kind of story. Just very, very exciting, and I just loved it. There's a song from Jekyll and Hyde that's called No One Knows Who I Am. And I think I changed a word or two and I recorded that song. It's probably one of my best recordings I've ever done. Not necessarily my favorite piece of music, but right up there. It's one of my favorite pieces of music, but it's probably the finest recording that I've done.
Okay,
and you know me well enough to know I'll just keep on talking, so you have to interject. Part of my charm.
Well, a good interviewer doesn't interrupt. Lets the guest just kind of go and go and go. And we've only got an hour, so I can kind of rein it in. I would say, out of all the ones that you recorded, and like I said, I think I've pretty much heard them all. I would say if somebody were to ask me, I would say my favorite three that I've heard you do, the one you mentioned, No One Knows My Name.
No One Knows Who I Am.
No One Knows Who I Am. That was one that I heard, I think a day or two after I met you. You gave me that recording, and there was something about that song that was just really haunting, really deep, really, really, just really wonderful in terms of the story that it told.
Yeah, and I think if you can connect to a lyric, it's if you're singing in front of an audience, you have the whole audience to connect to. There goes my darn phone. Yeah, you have the whole audience to connect to. And that song in particular, it's from Jekyll and Hyde, and so he's kind of singing to, like, I don't know who I am, or no one knows who I am. And I think for me, I kind of connected to the song because I spent a lot of years married to my kid's mom, and now here I am as an old guy married to another guy, and I think I changed the words in that song to I don't know who I am, or and it was a way for me to connect. But just it was special for me for that reason. I think that's probably where the magic in that particular recording comes from.
Okay. And I would say, like I said, that one, Moonlight in Vermont, and Spring Will Be a Little Late This Year. I don't know, it's something about.
Those are Sarah songs. See
right.
Sarah on the wall behind me.
Yes.
Sarah Vaughan, probably, the finest vocal instrument I've ever entered into my ears. I mean, I love so many people and they're so talented. That's not taking anything away from Ella or any of the other fabulous singers. But Sarah had this thing, certainly for my ears. Nobody can do a cover song like Sarah could. If Sarah did it, it was hers forever. I think a lot of people got a little more notoriety, a little more fame than her. She came a little after Ella, but Moonlight in Vermont, Sarah does that like nobody else. And what was the other song you just said?
Spring Will Be a Little Late.
Well, that was another one that Sarah did. And when I sing a Sarah song, and I've recorded quite a few songs that Sarah did, I'm always channeling Sarah when I'm singing. I can't imitate her. Clearly, I'm a guy. She's a girl. She had a beautiful range. When I was young, I had much more range, but she had this flutter, this woodwind instrument sound in her voice. And it was a big voice, but she could do the highs, and a really thick voice. And I always had a very thick voice. Because I adore Sarah so much, I'm always channeling Sarah when I'm singing a song that she did. So hopefully it comes through. I pale in comparison to Miss Vaughn, Miss Sassy.
No,
But I
it's
have her picture around. I have her picture on the wall. I have a picture of her behind me. Yeah, I think I have every recording she ever did. Probably a stack of Sarah Vaughan CDs a
okay.
foot thick.
Okay. Let me switch gears just a little bit.
Okay.
Let me ask you about, because the name of the show, first half of the name of the show is called Visionaries. So what is the vision you have for your life moving forward? Because now you're a man in his 60s, not somebody who's 20, right? And you can look back, more than a couple of decades. And what would be your vision, I don't know, for the next 5, 10, 15 years? For your life, what you want to do?
That's really that's a really good question. I think, if you'd asked me that 30 years ago or 20 years ago, it certainly would have been a different answer. 20 years ago, I wouldn't have been as confident in what it is that I do. Um, it's not because you reach a place where you feel you've accomplished so much. To me, being a creative person is so much a journey, not really where you wind up. When I was younger, for example, if I didn't get a part in a play or a show that I had auditioned for, maybe 40 people auditioned, one person's going to get the gig. Doesn't mean that the other 39 suck, and when you're young, you want to say, well, I'm not as good as so and so, or I didn't get picked, so I'm no good. And the tendency is to want to give up. The older I get, the more I realize that that's just nonsense and that's just getting in your own way. Um, I really, really practice at trying to be as grateful as I can, although sometimes I'm a grouch, but I really try to be as grateful as I possibly can. And that keeps me out of the way. It doesn't really matter if anything I ever do hangs in a gallery or gets heard by millions. It would be wonderful. Applause are great. I've had them, but they're nothing in comparison to the actual experience of doing it. If you sit down at a table and suddenly you're inspired to paint something because of a childhood memory or whatever, and it's happened to me where you kind of come to your senses and it's dawn and you've painted all night and there's a painting in front of you and you don't really know how that happened. And I think that's what I strive for, to always be a vessel, always be a prepared vessel to be able to receive whatever it is, because I really try not to take credit for any of it. I'm just a guy who is fortunate enough to have had the opportunity to do so many things. I am happy to say that I feel often as though I've lived 4 lifetimes in one.
Mhm.
And how grateful am I for that? It's I think that's the key, being grateful and being out of the way. Survival mode teaches you to try to justify everything you do. It's where it came from, actually. Outrunning the bullets, dodging the arrows, and being out of the crosshairs. That's where it came from. And for a long time, I had to try to justify every penny I spent on art supplies or on an outfit for a gig or whatever. I'm past that now. It's one of the only good things about getting old. Is one of the greatest things about getting older, because when you're young, you tell yourself you don't care what other people think. Well, that's just a lie, because it takes till you're past 50 to have that come from in here, where you really don't care, and it's so freeing. And yeah, it's, if I have to get old, I'll take it as long as I can stay in that zone.
Cool. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions. And
Oh boy.
you know how I love my Viola Davis. So I stole these from an interview I heard her do 2 years ago. I wrote them all down and listened to. She was on a podcast. I listened to the podcast like 3 times in order to get all the questions. So these are still. This is from the mouth of the goddess. So, so here's the first question. You can and just answer them the best you can. They're not it's not a big gotcha or anything. So here's the first question. So what relationship, real or fictionalized, epitomizes the word love for you,
Oh boy.
or defines love?
I don't know. You caught me off guard. I don't know. There's a lot of things that come to mind. Um, yeah, I don't know. Maybe you should move on and come back to that one once I get
Okay.
on a roll. Once I get on a roll, I'll have a
Yes.
story for you.
Yes. Okay. What question would you most like answered?
What question would I most like answered? Oh, I don't know. These are tough. These are tough because I think the unanswered questions is where a lot of my juice comes from.
Mhm.
I think I'm constantly looking for things like that through um, the creative expressions that I have. So it would be hard for me to answer that.
Okay. Where or when in life were you the happiest?
Oh boy, again, it's a broad question. I'll tell you, when you're standing on a stage in front of 3,000 people and you have completely left your own body and you're past the practicing and the breathing and all of the things that you do to study and train and all that. When you're past all that and you have that out of body experience, or you're up in the rafters in the cathedral somewhere, um, that's probably, I'm a dad, I'm a husband, uh, I have people who I love dearly, um, and there is nothing, any experience that I ever had catching my own daughter as she was being delivered. Um, this sounds crazy, but that that thing that happens when you're lost in a song somewhere is probably the most powerful, magical, most joyous thing I've ever experienced in my life.
Okay. What quality do you least like about yourself?
Um, it's really easy for me to give up the positive, the positive. I try really hard. I practice really hard to be grateful, and I think I've come a very long way. I think what I like least is that it's really easy for me to give that up. It's really easy for me to kind of throw my hands up and turn on myself. So I think that's probably the thing I like least.
Okay. What person, place, or thing most positively, or let me take that back. What person, place, or thing uh, most altered your life?
Um, Gosh, it's such a hard to pick one that makes it all the way to the top. There's so many things that affect you. Um, I think it's when you have one of those aha moments and some random person says something. Somebody told me one time when I was struggling in a relationship, somebody told me, "Don't forget that you're the prize." And I thought about that, and it was profound, and it changed my life. So things like that, when somebody once told me there are two kinds of people, the entitled and the grateful. Well, that's just another cliche, but for some reason it registered in a different place, and it was life changing. Somebody told me one time that uh, if I never painted another thing, and if I never sang another note, that I would forever be one of the most creative and talented people that he'd ever known. You'd said that to me,
Mhm.
and that was life changing. Um, so it's a combination of a lot of things. It's usually not something very small. For me, it has to be quite profound. I'm a pretty kind of deep guy, like highly emotional guy, and not like a spaz. I mean, I'm not freaking out all the time, but I'm very little things like can be very profound for me. Um, so it's hard really to say, but things like
Okay.
that.
Your last meal.
What was my last meal?
No, if you were going to have your last meal, what would it be?
I guess I'd have to have some lobster. It's one of those things. I don't know if I like it as much as I tell myself I do. And I really don't. I mean, I can afford to buy lobster once in a while. I mean, it's down the street for $6 a pound. You can't buy chicken for $6 a pound anymore. And I don't go and buy it. I really save it for something really special because I don't ever want to like have enough. You know, I don't ever want to say, okay, I'm tired of it. So yeah, lobster. It was unattainable for a long time in my life and very special. And so I keep it that way. So I guess it would be lobster.
Okay. Okay. What was something that you created during the time in your life that was very difficult and dark, and you managed to create something really beautiful and wonderful and powerful during that time period?
I think it would be the book that I wrote, the
Okay.
children's book. I mean, I was always able to sketch a little bit, never believed in myself. It was a long time ago when I did that. I had taken a sketch pad and a little box of watercolors over to Catalina Island and went to get away from everybody and everything. I had 2 children, their mom. It was a very difficult time in my life. I was really coming to kind of terms with myself and suppressed so much of my creative stuff. It used to make other people feel bad. I was around people who felt less than because I was doing creative stuff, or that I didn't care enough about them. I was caring more about, being expressive. So I went away to the island and did a little sketching and came back home. And within 12 days, I had drawn and written this little book, which I peddled all over. I sold thousands of copies, created a costume character. It went on to, I was in Barnes and Noble and Borders and in a Toyota Sienna advertisement. And it was just like this big explosion and came from a very, very difficult time. Very difficult time. I had to steal away 3 days to go to the island just to be by myself, just to clear my head. And that was really, really a tough time. I had been married for 20 years.
Okay. Okay, rather than circle back to the initial 2 questions, I'm going to give you 2 other ones, and then we can wrap up and be done. So yeah. Well, think about those for the next time you come on the show. Those 2 questions. So here's the first one. This is a sentence exercise. It's a sentence completion, and I give you the first part, and you give me your response, however you want to respond to it. So it's basically repeat and complete. So here's the beginning of the sentence. Instead of complaining, ...
Remind yourself of everything you should be grateful for. Being grateful makes the challenges in your life much easier to bear. There's always something to be learned from everything you go through, even the dark things, even the challenging things. You have got to find the value in the challenge, because that from them you grow. You grow.
Okay, and here's the last one. What is your hope for humanity?
Oh, can't we all just get along? I mean, what's my hope for humanity? I don't know. I don't know if I have a hope for humanity. I think things happen for a reason. I think there's a lesson to be learned from even the challenges that humanity has created for itself. I'm not going to be waving a banner saying, oh, it's like, let's fix all the planet and everything would be, it's not real. It's not realistic. I think there are challenges, and I think there's supposed to be challenges. The best part of who I am comes from the challenges that I've had in my life. And if you take away all the challenges and everybody is wonderful and everybody's happy and everybody gets along and everybody's got enough to eat, there's nothing to work for. I mean, it's valuable to go hungry. It's valuable to not have enough water. Maybe you don't want to relive it. Maybe you don't want to live it forever, but there's value in it. You can either be broken by it, or you can learn to be so resourceful. And that's where all of everything we have comes from somebody who went without it. Had to be a need. So
okay, I'm going to wrap us up before Zoom boots us off. So thank you very much. As soon as you get a website, we'll come back on and publish that and promote that. Talk to you soon.
all right, thank you.